Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment with your hosts, Joe and Ryan.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
I am Joe Wakefield.
I am Ryan Lang.
Yes, and for those of you, I had to do it right this time because I said those of us joining us for the first time, like the last 3 episodes, and it's bugged me every time.
Ha.
So, those of you joining us for the first time, what we do here is a little bit of the creepy, a little bit of the spooky. Sometimes we do some cryptozoology or a really cool haunting or a curse or a legend or a monster. But the point is, it's all spooky. And then the next part is Ryan's disclosure discussion. That one's all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. What have the government released? What are we asking of the government? Any UFO stories or photos or videos? That's the kind of stuff we talk about there.
Right. And then the latter half of the episode is all dedicated to entertainment, the entertainment industry. Sometimes we cover headlines or we have a fun little game where we do some kind of trivia. Maybe it's a celebrity death we have to talk about. Maybe it's some music news, but it's always entertainment. And those two sections, the beginning with the spooky and the latter half with the entertainment put together is Earthling Entertainment. Welcome to the show.
Welcome indeed.
And thank you for listening. Yeah. So Ryan, what's new with you? You're going to New York. That's what I heard. You're planning a trip. And
Yeah.
was it towards the end of the year?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more towards the end of the year. Gonna be going for my girlfriend's friend's wedding. So we're gonna be there for a week. I've never been to New York City, so we're gonna try to see all the sights and maybe go, sit at like an Italian like little diner, like the Sopranos.
That'd be fun.
I
See,
wanna do
I am
that.
jealous because I never got to go to New York City yet. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in Detroit. And I've never even been to New York.
Me either. So
Well, I'm
this'll
excited.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, it should be exciting, and like I said, we're gonna be spending like damn near like half a week there, give or take. But it's gonna be fun.
Well, you got to watch out because I hear there is a lot of ninjas that like to rob things in New York. But don't worry, there are anthropomorphic turtles that live in the sewer that will come out to help you. But they're only 4 guys, Ryan. They can't be everywhere. I mean, they go. I mean, they go ninja, go. But they can't be everywhere.
The rats can be everywhere.
Ho ho!
They say there's more rats in Chicago though than New York now.
Okay, so to be clear, that was a big long Ninja Turtle reference, and now we're on to a real topic. What? Who said that?
I've heard things. I heard things.
Who'd you hear that from? It's like, I read a story. Where?
I don't know where, but I'm just gonna say that it tracks.
According to Ryan, guys,
We'll
if
see.
you're in Chicago, there are more rats than there are in New York. Are you sure they're not just talking like politically? You know, because like that's,
Oh,
well, I'm just saying that's where they're like, vote once, vote twice, vote often. That's where that comes from.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, history, bro.
History.
Speaking of history, that's going to bring us to our first section. So, guys, what we do now is spooky stuff. And this one, we wanted to do something a little different. Lately, we've covered a lot of creatures, cryptozoology. So, this one, I wanted to find some kind of mysterious place, and we think we will. And here on this week's spooky stuff is Hy-Brasil. Spooky stuff.
Irish folk tales are full of ghosts, giants, pukas, demons, goblins, banshees, fairies, witches, widows, old maids, and other imaginary beings and places. One such impossible place is a strange, eerie island on the west coast of Ireland, shrouded in thick fog and seen only once every 7 years. In the oral storytelling tradition of Ireland, the island was described as an island in a fog bank or a floating island that disappeared when approached. The strange apparition was described in Irish Wonders as follows.
So yeah, hold on though. I want to say this is just a fun thing. Why would it only show up every 7 years? That's just that's why I love these myths because it's like, you have to say the certain phrase in the desert during the sunset in order to see the way to the promised land. It's just fun.
Yeah, it like reminds me of the Mummy.
A
Like
little
how they
bit,
were
yeah.
able to find Hamanatra.
That is how you find Hamanatra, and this is how you find Hy-Brasil.
Hy-Brasil. On Sunday afternoon, 7th of July, 1878, the inhabitants of Ballycotton in County Cork were greatly excited by sudden appearance of an island far out to sea, which was not known to exist. The men of Ballycotton town and island were fishermen, and knew the sea as well as they knew the land. The day before they had gone out in their boats and headed for the spot where the strange island now appeared, and they were sure it was the best fishing ground that they had. And still they looked further, and still their astonishment grew, for the day was clear, and the island was plain to see as the hills to the north. In some places it was rugged, in others thickly wooded. Here and there deep shadows on the sides pointed to ravines thick with brush and grasses. At one end it rose almost steeply from the sea, at the other it fell gradually. The dense forest of the mountainous part gave way to smaller trees. These in turn to shrubs, these in turn to green meadows, which finally merged with the sea and could no longer be distinguished from the waves.
Yeah, so very poetic description there. Kind of liked it. It seemed nice. I'd vacation there. You know what it reminded me of? The Island from Lost. That was a great show. Most people hate how it ended, but I'm just saying, overall, good show.
You loved Lost.
I love Lost.
Hy-Brasil is a mysterious island appearing on maps from 1325 to the 1800s. In Irish myth, it was said to be clouded in mist, except for one day every 7 years, when it became visible but still could not be reached. Stories about the island have circulated throughout Europe for centuries, with tales that it is the promised land of saints or a paradise where an advanced civilization lived.
That's always the fun that the one I like, because I also heard the Irish people believe that that is where like the fairies live, like the land of the fae, like that's where it is, and I always enjoyed that one because it's everyone's perspective, right? Like if you believe in folklore, it's fairies. If you believe in aliens, it's aliens. If you believe in God, it's God.
Or
But
demons or something.
yeah, but the point is the whole like there's a higher being, like a civilization here that are just like on a different realm or just above us in some way, whether it be technology or intellectually or spiritually or vibrate different on a different frequency.
Could just be like an alien colony and they've just figured out how to kind of cloak it.
That is a very that's just as probable as anything else, is what I'll say.
On most maps, the island was located roughly 321 kilometers, or 200 miles, off of the west coast of Ireland in the North Atlantic Ocean. One of the most distinctive geographical features of Hy-Brasil on those maps is that it often appears as a circle with a channel or river running east to west across it. Hy-Brasil is derived from the name
Brasil.
thank you, meaning the High King of the world in Celtic history. It was noted on maps as early as 1325, where it was identified as Brasil. It would show up again in 1595 on the Ortelius map of Europe. In 1480, John J. Jr., Jingleheimer Schmidt.
John J. Sorry, bro.
We both did it. We both thought the same thing. Departed from Bristol, England, on a journey to find the fabled island, only to come back empty-handed after spending 2 months at sea. In 1481, 2 more ships, the Trinity and the George, departed from Bristol on an expedition to find Hy-Brasil, with no success either.
Yeah, Hy-Brasil, man.
Hy-Brasil?
Yeah, Hy-Brasil, no success. And it makes sense, right? You know, what they don't tell you, though, is that guy's rudder was broken and he was literally going in circles and he just was embarrassed. He didn't want to tell anyone. So he came home and he's like, yeah, can't find it anywhere.
We did our best.
I based that on nothing, by the way.
Yes. Interestingly, in 1497, Spanish diplomat Pedro de Ayala reported to the Catholic monarchs of Spain that John Cabot had discovered in the past by the men from Bristol who found Brazil. This implied. So Bristol, who found Brazil, like,
Yes.
what we're talking about. This implied someone from one of the Bristol expeditions had actually managed to find it.
So whether it was John J. Jr. or the other guys,
Someone did,
someone apparently found it.
or at least said they did.
Yeah, very mysterious. I believe him.
Another account from 1629 by a French adventurer tells how several sailors discovered the why do I want to say
I don't know why you can't say Hy-Brasil. It's just Hy-Brasil, man.
He also mentions a letter written by a dairyman to a friend in England describing how Captain John Nisbet and his crew were stranded on Hy-Brasil and found an old empty castle. After they'd gone to sleep during the night, they'd suddenly woke up and saw a very old, serious gentleman and 10 men following him, coming bare-chested, as if they were his servants, to the shore where the ship lay. The mysterious gentleman gave a welcome party, at which he revealed his identity. He said the island was called Brasil.
Oh, Bristle, I think.
Yeah, Bristle, guys, because this is spelt different. Yeah. And his ancestors had been princes, but then a great evil sorcerer had wiped them all out, leaving only a few members of the family alive behind the unbreakable castle, while he'd made the island invisible so that no one could find it. When the captain knocked yesterday, he released the spell, and the island will be visible again. The gentleman has also distributed great gifts to the crew, who've happily returned home.
Okay, yeah, so let's just figure this out. They get on this island. There's this weird castle, and then at night, this old man comes out who claims to be the king, and he has servants. That's pretty cool. And he tells them, hey, guys, this is a cursed land. I had lots of princes, but they were all destroyed by a sorcerer. And then I defeated the sorcerer by making the whole island invisible. I love it.
I think he's the sorcerer.
But this isn't a video game, Ryan.
You know what I mean? That's the twist.
That's the twist.
Is he's the sorcerer, and all those people, the bare-chested men, are his servants. Those are the princes under his enslavement.
Ooh, I like it. Let's just let's go to the Odyssey with it a little bit too, and all those sailors turn to pigs.
Yep.
To be eaten.
Yes.
Yes. No, but seriously, that's a fun one. There's similarities to this castle and this old man, though. There's other stories that also mention him. Yeah.
Later, Scottish sea captain John Nisbet claimed to have spotted Hy-Brasil on his voyage from France to Ireland in 1674. He is said to have sent a party of 4 ashore, where the sailors spent the entire day on the island.
Just hanging out, playing volleyball. It was real Top Gun there, is all we're saying.
Bit of fishing.
Yeah. Highway to the danger zone.
Ooh, dangerous. There, they claim
That was silly.
to have met a wise old man who provided them with gold and silver. Strangely.
Why is this old man just giving people gold? They're not asking any questions. Here, take this. Sure.
It's Tom Bombadil.
It is Tom Bombadil. We figured it out, guys.
Motherfucker. Strangely, the captain said the island was inhabited by large black rabbits. See? And the rabbits from Radagast.
Fair enough.
It's all coming together.
Lord of the Rings guide. Hy-Brasil turns out to be Middle Earth.
It is. And a mysterious magician who lived in a large stone castle by himself.
See, told you, the old man in the castle.
A follow-up expedition was led by Captain Alexander Johnson, who also claimed to have found Hy-Brasil, confirming Nisbet's findings. In the following years, Hy-Brasil would retreat into anonymity. As attempts to find it failed again, map makers started leaving it off most nautical charts. When it was last observed on a map in 1865, it was simply noted as Brazil Rock. The last...
Not even an island. They went straight Pluto with it. Like,
yeah.
Go to hell. You're not even a planet anymore, Pluto. You're a large celestial body. They're Hy-Brasil. They're like, more like Brazil Rock.
It's a dwarf rock.
It's a dwarf rock. Yeah.
It's a dwarf island.
Yeah, there you go.
The last documented sighting of Hy-Brasil was made in 1872 by Robert O'Flaherty and T.J. Westrop. Westrop claimed to have visited the island on 3 previous occasions and was so captivated by it that he brought his family with him to see it in person. There, they all witnessed it appear out of nowhere, only to see it vanish again before their very eyes.
That's kind of cool, though, because those are witnesses, right? It's kind of hard to get your kids to agree with you to do anything, so.
Right. There are many myths and legends surrounding Hy-Brasil. In some of them, the island is the home of the gods of Irish lore. In others, it is inhabited by priests or monks, rumored to hold ancient knowledge, which allowed them to create an advanced civilization. Some think that St. Brendan's famous voyage to find the Promised Land may have been Hy-Brasil.
Ryan, which one do you think? Do you think they are Irish gods? Do you think they're aliens? Do you think they're giant rabbits with their society where they rule, where there's an old man in a castle? What do you think's going on?
The most likely explanation is it is a portal to another dimension.
You're always going portal to another dimension.
It's the most explainable one.
I mean, because you can't argue with it. You just like, yeah, all right, portal to another dimension.
It could be.
I mean, to be fair, I guess it could be. I'm not saying it couldn't be. But you know what else is another one? Is the group of monks that kind of went there and apparently like just did their monk thing to the point where they got so advanced that they're above us now. Like I just kind of like the idea of a bunch of cocky monks. Like you go there, they're just sitting lotus style, hovering a foot off the ground. They're like, oh, tourist. Hi.
I feel like there is there is like a holier than thou than monks, even though they're like with monks, like even though they're like all pure.
That's
and
how I
heaven
imagine
sent,
going
yeah.
to Shangri-La would be. I'm just saying.
They're just like, oh, look at you. You think you know it all. Yeah.
Hy-Brasil, we have giant black rabbits. Apparently, you don't know dick about Hy-Brasil.
They're fluffy too. Fluffy rabbits on the island.
Good and stew.
In one famous UFO encounter, known as the Rendlesham Forest Incident,
Love that case.
a strange craft is reported to have landed outside a U.S. military base. In the UK, Sergeant Jim Peniston claims to have touched this craft and telepathically received 16 pages of binary code into his mind. He wrote down the code the next day and had it translated decades later. I believe you talked about this before on the podcast.
Dude, I have a whole book called The Rendlesham Forest Incident. And I think it was written by Nick Pope. I think he signed it. I think I got him to sign it at Alien Con.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he was the former UK Minister of Defense guy. I don't remember exactly what he was.
The code was said to list very specific coordinates of Hy-Brasil and listed the location where ancient cartographers had it mapped. The message also listed the coordinates of several other ancient sites around the world, such as the pyramids at Giza, and Nazca lines. At the very bottom of the message, coordinates of Hy-Brasil were listed again, along with an origin year of 8100.
So origin year was the future.
While Atlantis may be the most famous lost civilization, Hy-Brasil is better documented and has more eyewitnesses' accounts behind it. The legend could be a story that was passed down through generations from the end of the last ice age when sea levels were lower. For example, the so-called Porcupine Bank, discovered in 1862, appears to have been an island at some point in time, located about 193 kilometers or 120 miles west of Ireland. It is a shoal exposed at extreme low tide and is where an 1830 chart had Brazil Rock located. The bank's highest point is about 200 meters or 656 feet below sea level and was sunk either due to a catastrophe or rising sea levels.
So that's interesting. So that island right there that's sunken underwater, that could have been Hy-Brasil, like they say, because sea levels are rising. That is something that, it's just a fact. Ask Florida.
I believe in sunken cities. Like I believe in Atlantis. I believe in this. I believe that could be the case too. That sounds plausible.
Well, there's this basically the city at the bottom of India, and they found it. It's underwater, and it's like this mythical city where gods apparently lived, and they just found it. And it's like, okay, yeah, the sea levels change, land changes. So, but this was on maps. Hy-Brasil's on maps.
As the glaciers melt, yeah, it all rises up. So yeah, there was more ice, I assume, back then. So yeah, the water levels were a little lower.
Cool.
Today, no such island called Hy-Brasil exists on any maps or nautical charts, and no historical documents were ever recorded to indicate what happened to it. Mainstream historians simply consider it a case of mistaken identity. Hy-Brasil has been featured in all sorts of legends, including giant black rabbits who lived with a
told you.
sorcerer, gods hidden in the mist, lost civilizations, and, of course, UFOs. Although it was never discovered, the Phantom Island was on maps from the 14th to the 19th century. Historians believe that this is because cartographers could not check all the places and locations, and therefore sometimes inadvertently included persistent rumors in their maps. Nevertheless, it is a particular riddle in the history that is likely to be debated and discussed into the future.
There's just one sad thing I can't get past, and that's if this island did exist and was sunken due to, a catastrophe or rising water, then that means there's a whole race of giant black rabbits that were just drowned. And that makes me sad, Ryan.
Well, I mean, there's a real chance
And
that
one
that's a thing.
sorcerer. I want to go and see if we could find like a sunken castle, and we just get this one old man skeleton just sitting in a chair.
No,
Like,
my rabbits!
all the rabbits around him. Oh my God, there's signs of like a murder-suicide where he like killed the rabbits one by one before finally taking his own life as the waters rise.
And he just wrote this beautiful poetry about rabbits and how much he loves them.
It's like, no one will ever know our tale. This is the end. The end of Hy-Brasil.
What a hairy ending.
Oh, I'm just feeling goosebumps, man. It's like that time in the Lord of the Rings movie, The Two Towers, when Helm's Deep battle, and it's right before Gandalf comes down that mountain with all the Rohan banished soldiers, and then there's finally hope, and the sun peaks up over the hill just as the horde of humans come bashing down into the enemy. It's magical, is all I'm saying.
And isn't that when he uses the light from his staff as they're approaching to like blind all the orcs as they right before they all collide?
Yes.
I can like hear the music.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So it's a magical time, and then they all drown. Because once again, we're talking about the giant bunnies.
Yeah. Well, now they're dead.
Well, now they're dead, which brings us to our next statement, which is not, well, now they're dead. It is
Ryan's disclosure discussion. It's about aliens and stuff.
Max Crosby, Raiders saw a UFO on flight back from Miami.
Huh?
I just saw this, literally just came out on the 6th. The truth is out there, and Max Crosby has seen it. Appearing Friday with Jim Rome, Crosby offered this thought on the existence of UFOs, with proof. There definitely is, Crosby said when asked if there are UFO and aliens among us.
He's just simply, yep.
That's not even a question. Then came the story. It's real, Crosby told Rome. Like, we were literally on a flight back from Miami, and we've seen a UFO with our own eyes. And that sounds crazy, but you can ask the pilots, anybody that was there. It was wild, and I seen it. And they had no idea what it was. There was nothing on the radar, nothing. And it was like a big, shiny light going in and out, said Max Crosby. During Crosby's time with the Raiders, they played in Miami twice, in the 2022 preseason, August 20th, and during the 2023 regular season, November 19th. The way he explained it, there would be plenty of others to corroborate with his story.
I mean, that's crazy. Anytime people look up to the sports people, right? I mean, they look up to athletes.
They got
obviously.
shit to lose.
So the thing is that, well, I mean, they do and they don't. But the point is,
Kinda.
Well, all I'm saying is there's a little bit of credibility because people look up to him. You're in some kind of position where people will listen to you. So for you to stand up and say, I saw a UFO, that means something.
Well, right. And I guess what I meant is like every now and then, these dudes got to go up to be drafted to another team. Like, it's good to know that we can talk about this without being deemed crazy. Because back in the day, I guarantee no football player would dare say that because no one's going to want to draft the crazy guy.
Well, you'd have to be really, really good at your sport. You'd have to be so good at your sport that they're like, he's a little insane. He's don't worry about it. Just let him throw the ball. It's fine.
True. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm glad that it's not as taboo.
It isn't. So, hey, you guys, if you are a Raiders fan or Max Crosby fan, there you go. Someone you admire is saying aliens are real, and I seen them.
All right, we've got another story here. UFOs may be evidence of cryptoterrestrials.
Cryptoterrestrials. So, those of you who don't know, that is the theory that the aliens that we see are actually from Earth. They developed on Earth. They were just another race. Whether that was another race of humans, dinosaurs, doesn't matter. The point is they're from Earth, so we don't know about them. So cryptoterrestrials instead of extraterrestrials.
Aliens passing as humans meet an advanced reptilian race living in subterranean kingdom. Sounds like the script of a Mork and Mindy vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover episode, but it's actually the contents of a fantastically speculative new paper about UFOs, penned by researchers from Harvard's Human Flourishing Program in Montana Technological University. The wild study, as yet not peer-reviewed, delves into the slightly insane world of cryptoterrestrials, which encompasses a bizarre cast of intelligent beings being concealed in stealth here on Earth, either underground or others, or its near environments like the moon. According to the authors, these clandestine Earth dwellers may in fact be responsible for many of the unidentified aerial phenomena that are typically attributed to intergalactic visitors. Jumping down the rabbit hole, the researchers present their first category of potential UFO pilot, which they call human cryptoterrestrials. These are described as a technologically advanced ancient human civilization that was largely destroyed long ago, maybe by a flood, but continued to exist in a remnant form.
So what they're saying is like, hey, the people from Atlantis, the Atlanteans, the Atlantis is gone, but they're still alive, and they went underground, and now they are wasn't that the story for Aquaman? Is that Atlantis? They're all underwater now.
I mean, pretty much.
I mean,
right?
that's kind of what they're talking about here.
I've always been a believer in underground civilizations. I honestly always have.
Well, that would be underwater, but I guess it's a moot point. Same thing.
Right. Possibly lurking in volcanoes.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Or deep beneath the ocean. These few surviving ancient superhumans were apparently exposed by Albert Einstein's former assistant, Dr. Shirley Wright, who claimed that she and her famous boss were invited to inspect the biological entities recovered from the supposed Roswell UFO crash in 1947. Speaking in 1993, Wright said the pilots were just humans, but an advanced form, and that their species reside underground on our planet.
That's a fun theory. I didn't know this. I'd like to when did she start saying this? Like, was Albert Einstein still alive when she was like, me and Albert saw aliens? Like, did he have a comment about that? Or was she like an assistant with him for like 2 weeks and then he fired her because she was crazy? Like, how long was she his assistant? I don't know. I got to look into that.
These are all good questions, Joe. Other subtypes of cryptoterrestrials may include highly advanced non-human primates or reptiles that store their aircraft beneath mountains. For instance, the Popocatépetl
Yeah, it was pretty good.
volcano in central Mexico and California's Mount Shasta are both UFO sighting hotspots.
Yeah, a lot of sightings on Mount Shasta. Yeah, I mean, you hear about those all the time.
And have therefore been identified as possible residences for these secret yet highly intelligent beings. Navy personnel reports of unidentified submersible objects traveling at incredible speeds, meanwhile, have fueled speculation that some of these cryptoterrestrials may in fact reside in the ocean. In one such report from 1987, a New Zealand frigate was supposedly followed by a 243-meter long, or 800-foot, USO that traveled at a top speed of around 4,800 kilometers per hour, or 2,980 miles per hour.
So like a freight boat from New Zealand? Wow, that's crazy.
And that shit is fast. Holy crap. The authors would also cite wild claims by the highly controversial Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who surprisingly had nothing to do with the study, that the moon may in fact be a cryptoterrestrial base.
We talked about that all the time, where it's like hollow and there's a whole alien. It's a Death Star, people.
Rang like a bell.
Rang like a bell.
Finally, the researchers say that the engineers behind most UFOs could be hiding in plain sight and may just be aliens that have mastered the art of blending in as humans.
What if they were literal chameleons? Like they could just shapeshift. I mean, we see it
That's
in
a
science
thing.
fiction.
Yeah, that's a thing. We see it in nature.
Well, octopuses are a good example of
Oh my
them. They
God.
could change their shape, their color. It's horrifying.
It's horrifying that they can literally completely detail, shape, texture, everything.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah, there is something kind of eerie about it. Like you want to feel it as it does it. Like, let me feel what that feels like. Like, weird.
I don't know. Hopefully, aliens aren't octopuses because we're in trouble. I know there's a theory that octopuses themselves are not from Earth, like they were a result of panspermia or they're from a different planet in some other way. But yeah,
That was a theory. I don't know if that was ever like proven.
well, the DNA doesn't match. Like, there's no ancestor. Like, if you go back, you could be like, oh, humans come from like a monkey, a chimpanzee, a this, a that, But you can't do that with an octopus. There's nothing before an octopus. Octopuses are just here all of a sudden.
So we're asking why the Occupy
Oh,
occupy our oceans.
okay, that's silly.
Ah. Admittedly, this all pretty fanciful stuff, and much of the rationale for these claims comes from sources even more dubious than Loeb, including podcaster Joe Rogan
Very dubious.
and believers in the sunken realm of Atlantis. Recognizing the many flaws in their proposals, the authors explain that although this idea is largely to be regarded skeptically by most scientists, such are the nature of some UAP that we argue this possibility should not be summarily dismissed. They also admit that they themselves consider the existence of cryptoterrestrials to be unlikely, but not impossible.
Yeah, they're just posing they're just asking questions.
Just
They're not
asking
they're not
questions.
saying there are Atlanteans hanging out, but there could be.
Based on all the available evidence regarding UFOs, the researchers rate the possibility of cryptoterrestrials actually existing as 10%.
That's not bad. That's kind of high.
That's pretty good.
That's higher than it would be to like win the lottery.
I'd pay that for $1.
Oh.
Most observers will probably see
Not all though, just most.
yes, that figure as pretty generous.
Yeah, exactly.
We do. We gotta do. The study, which has been accepted for publication in the journal Philosophy and Cosmology, is currently available as a preprint.
Yeah, it was in a magazine. You could buy the magazine still. Excuse me.
But yeah, not so. I believe 100% in this because I believe in like the underground cryptoterrestrials. I believe in the moon cryptoterrestrials. I'm sure that there's stuff that they're blurring out in certain images. We've seen it in numerous images from the moon. So,
Well, I'm just saying, like, I love the theories, right? Like, we have the theory that aliens are humans from the future. Now we have a theory that there was advanced humans that lived thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, and then have become a subset of humans and are living in obscurity and walk among us. And those are the cryptoterrestrials. And then other ones are they're just straight up aliens. And then the other one is they're from another dimension. All we know is there's others. There's others. It's like Lost, Ryan.
it
All
feels
we know is that there's others.
The one I've said it already, but yeah, the underground dwelling. I really do believe that, and I believe
Mole
that they
people.
could be not aliens, not interdimensional, like straight up, like it says here, just an ancient kind of
Race.
people,
So,
intelligent people.
But do you believe they live in like caves, like a cave system, or do you believe in like the Hollow Earth thing?
I don't believe in like the full hollow Earth things. Like I'm not a believer that there's.
So
a
you
sun
don't
down
think there's
there.
like an ecosystem down there, like an open world, like Journey to the center of the Earth kind of thing?
I could see an ecosystem for sure.
Well, I guess an ecosystem's a bad word because there's an ecosystem in a cave, but I'm just saying, it's not like a biosphere.
I mean, it would have to be self-sustainable in a way. So I mean, I don't know, but that would probably be controlled by technology that we don't understand.
Well, true. If they're technologically advanced, though, they could just live in cave systems, and it could just be a series of caves, right? They get their water from underground streams and stuff like that, but there isn't like a big open environment with other animals and plants and what have you.
But my theory doesn't explain the UFOs or USOs.
I don't know, man. They everyone needs cars, right?
I guess so, but where are they going?
Well, they're flying in and out of volcanoes. If they're underground, there got to be the volcano dwelling ones. Even this theory was like they might live in volcanoes. So it makes sense if volcanoes would lead to the center, or if not, deep under the Earth's crust.
And I mean, we've seen life persist in many ways. Like the tardigrade can live in volcanoes and underwater, and like in anything.
True,
There
but we
are-
haven't
there are
seen like a real
snails.
advanced animal species that can, though. Like all the extremophiles are very small or very basic animals.
Well, if they're good at like the cloaking technology or whatever, or they've got like a Men in Black like thing that can just make us
Neuralizer.
forget or something.
Yeah, if they have
I
a
don't know.
neuralizer, we're screwed.
Right? Maybe
I'm
that's
just
that was a great explanation when it came to Men in Black. The neuralizer, that was a great idea.
oh, they just shine you in a light and you forget. Well, that would be really weird if we just got into encounters with aliens all the time and they're just constantly neuralizing us. What if the neuralizer is giving people cancer, and that is the increase in cancer people are getting is because we're all getting neuralized by goddamn mole people.
It was the mole people. I knew it,
Science, Ryan.
dude. We're all getting cancer from the neuralization. So everybody just stop looking.
Okay, guys. That'd be funny.
Eyes
like,
down.
The one guy who can't be neuralized is sitting on the street. He's like, "There's aliens everywhere. Nobody believes me. I'm the only one who sees. Oh, you got the flashy thing. You don't remember."
That's what thunderstorms are. Every time you see a flash from lightning or anything like that, aliens just set that up. It's constantly giving us a memory wipe like a droid.
That's actually a fun sci-fi idea. Can you imagine that though? Like a sonic boom or a flash that affects like everybody in the surrounding area. Yeah,
It makes
All right.
sense.
that'd be fun. Oh well, shit.
That means we get to move on.
Earthling Entertainment special report. So it looks like they're gonna do Practical Magic 2, and Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman are in talks to return. I don't know, could a sequel work without them? And who's asking for this? I don't know. Earthling Entertainment special report!
You know, Ryan, I still haven't made any kind of music or like a little jingle for this music mumbles.
And it's literally music mumbles. So we should probably have one.
All right. Maybe if not this episode, the next one. But here's Music Mumbles.
Music mumbles.
Sebastian Bach addresses outburst at Detroit show, says he was referring to Madame X, whatever the hell that is. Sebastian Bach being from, of course, Skid Row.
Yes, and Madame X is a old band of his. He got kicked out of.
Ah, that's right. Just yesterday, we reported on.
Is it Madame X?
So this is, yeah, you're probably right. And it's this comes from metalsucks.net, I think. Just yesterday, we reported Metal Sucks.
Yeah,
on
Metal Sucks reported.
Right on
We're
Sebastian.
reporting what they reported.
Exactly.
It's reportingception.
Hey, I always love their articles. They're usually pretty cheeky. Sebastian Bach freaking out about fans yelling Skid Row during his set, to which he was reported to have responded, "Yeah, that's the band that kicked me out. Yeah, killer, great, fucking assholes." Then later on in the show, he saw a fan wearing a Skid Row shirt from an era when Bach wasn't in the band.
What?
Leading to a longer rant. Well, according to Bach, we all got it completely wrong. Well, a little wrong anyway. In a
He's
post,
like, hold on, I wasn't an asshole about that. I was an asshole about this.
precisely, I think that's pretty much what this is.
Excellent.
In a post on Bach's Twitter account, The singer insisted that in the first confrontation where he talked about the band that kicked me out, he wasn't talking about Skid Row, but rather about his earlier band, Madam X. However, Bach didn't deny that he went off on someone for wearing a Skid Row shirt from another era other than his own. This is what the statement said. Hey, internet, the horse shit never stops. Last night in Detroit, I was confronted by a dude proudly wearing a Madam X shirt. So there you go. He saw a person wearing a Madam X shirt. A band whom, as you can read in my book, which we didn't, spit in my face and kicked me out when I was 16 years old.
To be fair, he says you can read it in his book.
Right, but hold a grudge much? I don't even know who the fuck Madam X is, and he's all pissed about it. He was 16. The dude's like, what, in his 40s, 50s?
Well, yes, but I mean, to be fair, if he's still mad about it, you have to assume that band is doing relatively okay nowadays, right? Or wouldn't it be funny if they hadn't done anything since he was 16?
And he's just still mad about it?
He's
Yeah,
like,
he got kicked out?
Forgotten Future kicked me out, Ryan.
Dude. But no, but that's the thing. Like I literally pretty much did get kicked out of Forgotten Future. Like that would literally be like if I played a show and someone wore a Forgotten Future shirt, which is my first band that I was in, I would be stoked.
Well, to be fair, that would be amazing because you guys have shirts.
They did exist. I think I've still got a couple put away.
So that would be super impressive if
That's
there
what
was
I'm
someone
saying.
out there who had that.
So that's where I think he's going about this the wrong way. But Bach, honestly, that's why I wanted to talk about this. Sebastian Bach's kind of always been a crybaby. So I kind of like, and I swear every time he comes to Detroit, there's always some video of him getting pissed off. And he says, not mad at the guy for wearing it, but not thrilled at staring at it either. Then there was some goofball wearing a Skid faux shirt, staring at his phone in the front row the whole show, thinking somehow that would be appropriate. If you're going to wear a Skid Row shirt to my show, it would be more appropriate to sport the original Skid Row, not some other band that lasted 6 months or whatever. The music we celebrate at these shows has lasted the test of time for 35 years and will do so forever. That is what these shows are about. Come celebrate 35 years of the first album Skid Row with us. But realize this is a real rock show and you never know what's going to happen.
It's a real rock show. You never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like, I'm going to excuse all future behavior with just being like, that's rock and roll, man.
Honestly, it tracks.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to lie. It tracks.
All right. So Madam X is an American hardcore band. It's not. It's glam metal. They all dressed up. They're from the 80s. They still do stuff, though. Like the last album was in 2017. So apparently the band does exist enough that he is still angry about it.
I guess. But yeah, way to hold a grudge. That's kind of funny to me. While his outburst at the show was rather unhinged, his outburst on social media wasn't more hinged. It still sounds like he's pretty bitter.
That is writing, guys.
Dude, that's why I like this. I like these articles. He's pretty bitter about not just one band, but two. And while he's right that Skid Row's first album stood the test of time, what hasn't stood the test of time is Bach's tenure with Skid Row. Hell, Johnny Solinger was in the band longer than Bach was. Maybe it's time for Bach to move on.
Okay, so yes, that is probably our conclusion as well. Is let it go. Let it go, man.
And I mean, he's touring, and it's like, dude, you are touring at your age. You've been doing it for this long. Now you got your solo thing that just came out. He just released a new album.
That's good, right?
Like, literally, it just came out.
He still has fans, obviously. He's still doing shows. That's awesome.
You've got people to complain to, bro. Like, count your blessings. I'm
Oh,
just saying. Not many people are going to come. I'm shocked that he had a crowd. Like, nothing against him. I'm just saying, usually with these, older dudes that kind of come back doing a solo project, it almost seems like they're more reliving the old days than actually making good music.
Well, that may be true of some cases, but I will say that everybody has fans of their generation, and if you're still alive, then you have fans that are still alive, and they're gonna come out, Ryan. They might come out in wheelchairs, but they're gonna come out.
And don't get me wrong, I'm more power to him. I like Sebastian Bach. I just think it's hilarious because I swear every time he comes here, he gets pissed off, and there's always a video circulating of him like ranting at the crowd about something or another.
So you think it's Detroit or like us, or do you think it's?
I think
does he do that everywhere? Have you heard of like stories of him being particular about other people's shirts and shows?
Yes, I've heard stories about him on tour and shit like that. Definitely more in his older age than younger. He didn't really have too much of a thing back
He's
then.
like the old guy's like, get off my lawn!
Pretty much, you know.
Quit wearing Madam X shirts, you son of a bitch.
Well, and it cracks me up because he was in Trailer Park Boys. I don't know if anybody ever watched the Canadian show Trailer Park Boys, but that leads me to believe that Bach must be Canadian.
What did he do in Trailer Park Boys?
Oh, it was a whole thing. He was in it for like a whole season. Like he
I mean, I liked that show, but I watched it so quick because when the time I tuned in, it was like season 7. It was one of the times they got canceled before getting picked up again. So I saw like everything in a weekend.
it was like this whole thing with trains, and then he was like in this big like fight with Patrick Swayze about trains, and they were using this giant like toy train track to like transport weed oil.
Okay, yeah, all of that sounds very Trailer Park Boys, but I have no memory of any of that. But fair enough.
That was a great season.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it. I might have to revisit that show. All right, guys. I think it's time to jump into headlines. Earthling Entertainment headlines.
They got a problem, child. These are the headlines gone wild. New Hunger Games prequel movie based on Suzanne Collins' next novel set for 2026.
Ooh.
A new Hunger Games prequel film will be released in theaters 2026 after last November's Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, charmed its way to $337 million at the box office. Lionsgate teased that moviegoers may not have seen the last of Panem?
Yeah, it's Pan Am. It's the name of the country.
Thank you, Panem. The dystopia where the story is set. Even though the spin-off story covered the entirety of author Suzanne Collins' 2020 novel of the same name.
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't know why people have such a hard time with that title. Sure, it's wordy, but I mean, come on.
It has a ring to it. The film opened an endless series
Ryan
of
did not agree with his own statement there.
No, it's just what's funny is I never heard of this film. I didn't even know that they did another one.
Yeah, it came out last November, I think, or it might have been the November before last
I
November.
literally never even heard of this.
I enjoyed it, and I read the book first, and it stayed remarkably close to the book, which is you can't say about a lot of things.
Okay, well that's good. No, and that's always a good thing. And I mean, it made 337 freaking mil, so did pretty good.
Not bad. And it was only cost like $100 million.
So, and it says that Lionsgate is going to continue with Suzanne. And so I'll just quote it. The film opened an endless series of possibilities that Suzanne can go and that Lionsgate can go with her. Adam Fogelson, chairman of the studio's motion picture group, said at the same time. To that end, Collins is writing a new book, Sunrise on the Reaping, to be released in 2025.
March of 2025. So if anybody wants to read that book.
The film adaptation will hit theaters on November 20th, 2026.
Clearly, they're getting an advance copy to write the script.
Francis Lawrence, who has helmed every Hunger Games installment since 2012's Catching Fire, is in talks to direct.
It does make sense. He's like the visual guy for the franchise, you know? Because the first one, I don't know if you remember, but it was very shaky cam. And then his version was not as shaky cam, which I thought was it was definitely an improvement. But there were stylistic choices that need to stay consistent through franchises. That's why a lot of people like Harry Potter once they got the third movie, because after that they kind of had a very similar aesthetic.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And honestly, I feel like I need to give these movies another watch. I feel like I know the first two really well, and I forget how it even ended.
Well, you know what? You should watch the prequel first, and then watch the old ones, and actually watch it.
That might be cool.
In timeline order.
That might be cool. Yeah, that way I can watch this new one. Yeah, you're right. Might as well. Like the forthcoming novel, The Hunger Games: Sunrise of the Reaping, on the Reaping, will revisit the world of Panem 24 years before the events of the Hunger Games saga, anchored by 3 Katniss Everdeen, and 4 decades after the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It will start on the morning of the reaping of the 50th Hunger Games, also known as the Second Quarter Quell, in which Hamish Abernathy, portrayed by Woody Harrelson in the original series, completed. Hamish Abernathy later mentors Katniss and Peeta in the 74th Hunger Games.
Yes, yes. So here's my only issue with this is prequels fall into a problem where any character who is the main character, if they were in a future film, you know they're going to be safe. So like there's almost no mortal danger. So we know Hamish wins the Hunger Games. So yeah, I mean it's cool that you get to see how that happened, but he's gonna win, right? And I guess an argument could be made that when you go into the Hunger Games, the first one, you assume the main character Katniss is gonna win, especially since it's based on a book. So maybe my argument is moot, but couldn't they just pick any? There's 75 Hunger Games. I think it's 76 Hunger Games technically during the Revolution at the end of the third book. But the point is, that's a lot of Hunger Games. Pick any one of those and be like, here's all new characters. And we can just enjoy who the hell is going to survive. Is it too much to ask to get a child murder movie with some integrity?
I was going to say, because you kind of hit it there, Hollywood is scared of introducing completely new characters to audiences now. Like unless like it has some kind of tie to the original story that was really successful, they're scared to just do something completely new under, the same flag.
It's an interesting situation because Suzanne Collins, excuse me, she's the writer, right? So she's writing this new book. So she pretty much was the one who got to choose what she did, right? So I'm not saying a sequel would have worked, but like it was her choice, not the studio. They just want a new movie. They're just like, gimme something in the Hunger Games franchise. It's like when Hannibal Rising came out a while back, the author of like Hannibal and all that stuff was pretty much like the studio was like, just write a new book, just do it so we can make a movie. Come on. They practically came out simultaneously. It's always funny to me when this happens. So it's like it gets the legitimacy of based on the award-winning novel, except the novel is only award-winning because it's part of a series and it sells a bunch. And then, well, I shouldn't say award-winning, I should say best-selling. It sells a bunch, and then the movie is based on it, but it came out like the movie. I don't know. It's so weird. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done, Ryan.
Let creativity just be creative, I hear you.
Well, no. What would you do for a Hunger Games? Because it is a fun thing. It's a fun world, right? So you get an environment that these kids have to fight in, and then you get a group of characters. And there's 2 from each district. And before the events of the Hunger Games films, there's 13 districts. So as a fact, you're getting 26 characters. So it's just kind of like that is a fun experiment. So you get 26 characters, develop each one of those characters. You have to figure out who you want to win. But in a situation where it's not based on a book and you're just doing it all fresh, you can actually subvert expectations. Maybe you do what Hitchcock did and kill the main character you're following 20 minutes into the movie and switch to someone else. I mean, it's just like, it seems like there's a lot of fun you can do to not attach it to a character that is going to survive.
I think if I were to do Hunger Games, I would do it along the lines of the first film, where it's like, you have no inclination that there is any way out of this. Like, there is no fighting back. This is happening.
Yeah.
Like, I felt
it's like going to the dentist, bro.
Once it started to get into the politics and all the other things, to me, I don't know. I kind of just liked the horrid dystopian, they're trapped. This is the way things are. Everybody was devoted to the way that things are.
You might not like the last 2 movies in the series then, because it's all Revolution.
No, and that's why I'm saying like I barely remember it, but I do remember watching it, and I did watch it. I saw them in theater, and I remember.
But they're forgettable to you.
And the ending, I remember, felt so stale. Like they felt so emotionless. Like here they are, they're together, they're free, and they can have a family, and they looked like they didn't give a shit. Like they looked so like.
I think the point is they were traumatized after the events of the movies.
Yeah, it was such a weird ending. You're right. It was just like PTSD love. The end.
Yeah, like this is life now.
That was literally.
That's probably why she doesn't want to do a sequel, right? That's probably why she keeps going to prequels, because she's like, fuck, what do I do now? There is no more Hunger Games. They'd just be like, they farm.
Right. Like exactly. Like they won, but it was horridly depressing. It was a very sad ending, but they won.
Yeah, they did win, but I mean, there's still going to be a lot of years of trying to figure out the new government and who's in charge. There's a lot going on at the end of those movies, but I'm not saying that would be captivating to watch. You know what I mean? So, all right.
And that's why I'm saying the first Hunger Games is the best, because it was like everybody was like, this is the way of life. This is the way things are. Like they were stuck in it. And it's just like it felt more like a movie. Like it felt like more like almost like borderline like a dystopian horror.
Well, I think the sequel also gets that because it ended with a little bit of a cliffhanger, but it still was the whole of the movie was still we are, you know, at the mercy of the government kind of thing.
Right. Like that's why 1984 is such a great book. You know?
Yeah, 1984 is a good book. That is completely unrelated. Speaking to something that's unrelated,
I think
let's
it's
go to
close.
headline number 2. All right.
All right. Nintendo Switch 2. Official announcement.
Headline number 2, Nintendo Switch 2.
Promised within next year.
Ooh, so we promise we're going to tell you about something.
Nintendo has finally broken its silence on the successor of its smash hit Switch. But don't get too excited.
Strap in.
Fans have been eagerly awaiting news on the console for months, but little information has emerged. Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa has now promised an announcement at some point before March of 2025. So anywhere between now and next year, March.
I wish I could just announce things like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's totally Nintendo. This is such a Nintendo announcement. But he
We
also...
announce that someday we will announce between these dates an announcement.
Yes, why does it sound like a Monty Python bit? But he also said there would be no mention of the new machine at the company's Nintendo Direct event next month. So they're not even going to announce anything yet, but they're saying they will before March of next year.
Well, he was just tempering expectations. He's like, guys, I know we got this big thing we're doing next month. Okay. Cat out of the bag. We're totally doing a future console, but we're not talking about it. We're not talking about it.
I think
Especially on this next month call. So don't expect it.
I really think that they're having trouble with social media and internet because we've already covered a couple things here on the podcast.
But it's all been rumor, right?
But I guarantee it's all for real. Like it's like how it's going to be magnet locked now. Like it's going to be so much better and stuff like that. Like a lot of the developers have released stuff because they're excited. And then I think Nintendo was finally like, crap, we got to say something.
Yeah, well, apparently they're not going to do it, but they will do it before March of 2025.
It's better than we've gotten ever from them so far. In a post on X.
In the world of social media, this is the best they could do.
It's Nintendo. The boss of the Japanese company said it will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March of 2015. He said next month's Direct would focus on the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024. But please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation, he said.
Don't expect it, guys.
Adding that this information would arrive within this fiscal year. So March being their fiscal year. That makes sense. So good. I don't know. I know that that's not much of an announcement, but I'm so stoked for Switch 2. So I'm glad to hear anything.
Well, something about Nintendo is they've always been innovative. They really have. I remember when the Wii came out, it was this big thing. And I don't want to say it was a novelty, but it only worked. The weird controller, the motion controller with that was like a remote. It only worked with certain games. There were other games that made the whole process incredibly difficult to play on the Wii, right?
Twilight Princess was really good on the Wii.
It was.
And what was funny is they had to flip. It's the only game where Link is right-handed.
Yeah, they had to invert or something.
They had to they had to literally reverse the game because of the way the swing of the controller, because the left was the nunchuck and the right was the actual controller being the sword.
Well, there you go. Fun Zelda fact. Well, anyways, what I was getting at is that they've always been innovative, right? Because then the Switch came out and they're like, this is how we combine the portable with the console. So it seems like that this next one is just going to be, from all the rumors, an improvement on the design. But hey, if it could process better games, that's great. Because Nintendo can't handle a lot of the AAA, releases.
Always a step behind. Like I said, they're so creative, but then they just always fall short on as much detail as they can put into the games.
The graphics are never as sharp, and I mean, because all of their games are kind of, and I don't mean this disparagingly, but they have more of a kiddie aesthetic, right?
They're more cartoony.
They're more cartoony aesthetic, whereas something, I don't know, Mortal Kombat, for instance, that port got a lot of hate when it went to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, because no one had eyelids.
Yeah, well, there was not a very good transfer.
No, it wasn't. And I've played other games. Like, I played Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch.
I heard that one was okay.
It was not bad. Like, it was definitely not as great. Like, there were a lot of things that I missed out on, I think, from doing it that way. But I was able to thoroughly enjoy the game. I beat it twice.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I got like 100% too.
Oh, man. All right. So, guys, headline number 3. Here's an old movie from the 90s that they want to do a sequel for. Strap in.
I feel like, yeah, this is something that you couldn't avoid the first one. We all saw it.
If you're of a certain age, this was part of our childhood.
Sister Act 2 star and the War and Treaty singer Tanya Trotter says Sister Act 3 script is done.
Sister Act.
Whoopi Goldberg is closer than ever to getting back in the habit.
How many of our listeners, when I said a movie from the 90s is going to get a sequel coming out soon, how many of you thought Sister Act? Subverting expectations only on Earthling Entertainment.
If you guessed Sister Act, send us a message. We want to know.
Because you could come to our birthday party.
You're allowed. You get one of the caps. Whoopi Goldberg is closer than ever to getting back in the habit again.
Oh.
After a tearful reunion of the Sister Act 2 cast on The View, one of the film's stars confirmed that the script for the long-awaited threequel is finally done. Tanya Trotter
Finally.
Finally. It's about time. Had a memorable duet with Lauryn Hill in the 1993 film Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. Though she couldn't comment on whether she would be in Sister Act 3, Trotter does know that the script is done. Asked if she would be interested in joining the third installment of the beloved series, Trotter said anything that Whoopi Goldberg is a part of, 'cause she's a legend, she's an icon, she's my mentor, hero, yes, I would say yes. As for Sister Act 3, Goldberg's been trying to bring the film to fruition for years. In 2022, SA3 producer Tyler Perry confirmed that there was a good script in the works, and it seems we're going to see Dolores Van Cartier ride again sooner than later.
Okay, I have some questions.
Go for it. Go forth and quest.
All right. So this Tanya Trotter, right?
Right.
All right. So she says that she doesn't know if she's in the movie, but she knows a script is done and it's good. Okay, first of all,
Tyler Perry said it was good.
well, no, I've written random scripts all the time. I wrote a sequel for Tremors that was going to be called Tremors 7 before Tremors 7 came out, and it was genius. But the point is, if I was in an interview, I'd say, yeah, the Tremors 7 script is done. Doesn't mean I have the rights or anyone asked me to write the script. So was it this woman, Tanya Turner, was it like her roommate? Like, hey, I wrote that Sister Act 3 for you. Finally, Joyce. Thank you.
Well, I'll be damned.
It's like, is there a part for me? I'll never tell. Oh, Joyce. I'm just saying.
It seems almost like if that is the case, just the way you're putting it, that almost seems like that would be insulting to her.
Well, no, also think about this is Whoopi Goldberg is on The View interviewing her, right? And Whoopi Goldberg's the one trying to get it made, and apparently she has Tyler Perry as a producer. Okay, all that's good and fine. So a guest comes to Whoopi Goldberg's show and says, I know the third script's gotten written. Okay, well, wouldn't Whoopi Goldberg know that? Was this like a weird inside joke? I'm
Maybe
very
it's just
confused.
It's got to be a Hollywood legal thing, right?
Well, you know what, guys? If you think that Sister Act 3 was never going to happen, remember Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted had a 1989 film. They had a 1991 film. My years might be off, but I believe that is true. And then the next one came in 2020. It could happen. So,
Dreams come true, dude.
if you're like holding out for Sister Act 3, apparently The script is done. And in early stages, Tyler Perry went, not bad.
I've been holding out hard, Joe.
Yes, me too. Well, to be fair, I've been wanting another sequel with Whoopi Goldberg and that Tyrannosaurus Rex cop. Do you remember that?
I don't.
That is the greatest movie ever. It's like Theodore Rex or something. I'm going to have to look it up. But anyways,
Good God.
that is the best Whoopi Goldberg movie ever made.
Once again, I always like to bring up whenever we talk about Whoopi Goldberg that is not her real name. Whoopi was a nickname made for her because she would not stop farting in the beginning of her career. And literally, she took on the name Whoopi, and she proudly still uses it today.
I don't know if that's right.
I love sharing that tidbit of information.
But is it correct?
I believe so. Yes. Moving on to the next headline, number 4. Headline number 4.
Headline number 4.
Microsoft's Fable reboot shown off with new trailer and a 2025 release window.
In the year 2525, we're going to get Fable the Game's Alive.
Xbox Game Showcase 2024. Fable reboot is set to release sometime next year. What does it mean to be a hero? Well, in the fairy tale land of Albion, that is entirely up to you. Fable's product listing reads, with a dark threat looming, and in a world where your reputation precedes you, your choices will change Albion forever. I'm getting goosebumps just reading this shit, dude. Like, Fable was one of my favorite games ever.
I really, really liked it. I was into Fable 2 and Fable 3. I never had the honor of playing the first one because the first one was on regular Xbox, and I didn't jump on board until Xbox 360.
I got to play that, and then I got to play the special edition where they released a whole extra boss battle on a whole extra island with a bunch of new creatures to kill and shit. It was so cool.
Well, Fable was a great game because it was one of the games that started the whole mechanic of like you can be good or evil, and your choices affect that and how people react to you and what powers you get.
Jack of Knives, I believe, was the original bad guy, and he comes back as a freaking dragon in the special edition after you defeat him. Like the original ending, it continues. You have to fight him like in his final form.
Very cool.
Playground's revival of the much-loved fantasy role-playing game series was announced in 2020 as a new beginning.
Yeah, it's like a reboot. Well, it says new beginning, so soft reboot.
2023's Xbox Game Showcase then gave us a better idea of what to expect with a reveal courtesy of the It crowd's Richard Ayoade. Sorry about that.
That's funny.
This reboot is the first mainline Fable game since 2010's Fable 3 and one of Xbox Game Studios' biggest upcoming titles. Check out everything announced at the Xbox Game Showcase for more on what Microsoft has coming out for the rest of 2024 and beyond.
And beyond. Fable was always a good game. Fable was one of the reasons why I got an Xbox 360. I'm always a PlayStation guy, and I still am a PlayStation guy. Love PlayStation. I don't know if I will get a new Xbox to play this, but I think I might get lucky because Microsoft announced that a lot of their exclusives they're going to farm out to other things. They're going to like make PlayStation or PC versions. So I might get lucky on this one.
And I mean, there's always the hope that, because one of the things I know Xbox is talking about doing is making XPass even like basically an app that you could download on your PlayStation.
Streaming games is so difficult, man, for me because internet connections aren't always very good.
And I feel you there. Like with my PC, it's still a huge download so it's like I'm not like streaming it. You know, I download the game, and then I play it. You know, so yeah. See, I don't have a PS5, so I don't even know.
Well, the PlayStation has its own version of streaming. I don't know what it is, PlayStation Plus something. I don't know. But long story short, I just never want to pay a monthly fee because some days I get to play a lot of video games and some weeks I don't get to play any video games. And it pisses me off to pay for something I don't use. You know what I mean? If I go for a month and I can't really play, then it's just like, oh, well, I just wasted that money.
I could agree with that. I can agree with that. But right now I'm kind of just doing it because it's just how I play my games right now. And there's so many games available on XPass. It's actually pretty sweet.
All right, well, I'm glad it's working out for you. But you know what else is working out for me?
Oh boy.
The childhood film Theodore Rex. It came out in 1995 and it starred Whoopi Goldberg. And she had an anthropomorphic dinosaur partner in a world where there's dinosaurs and humans. Kind of like, do you think of the 90s show Dinosaurs by Jim Henson's? Kind of like a sci-fi cop version of that. And it flopped so hard.
This is so a Joe movie. Let me
But
see this shit.
It's amazing. Hold on one sec. I got to look up the stats real quick. So, guys, this is something from the 90s that I believe everyone needs to be a part of. The budget was $33 million
my God.
estimated. No, I'm sorry. That was the box office. Nope, that's the budget. So the budget was $33 million, and we know it flopped. It's not even telling me how much money it made. So, yeah.
Let
Theodore
me see.
Rex.
Let me see a picture of this shit.
Yeah, here you go, bud.
I have to see this.
It's so good.
Oh no! It's like oh my God! It's like one of the dinosaurs from the show Dinosaur.
That's what I was saying.
I think it literally is. That's his coworker.
It's totally not the same puppet for sure,
It
but
looks just like him. The
they
coworker.
they definitely made it very similar.
Oh my Lord!
So Whoopi Goldberg is a cop with a dinosaur partner, and at one point the dinosaur puts on sneakers, and then the three toes were like three shoes kind of formed together. It is genius. I feel like the art director.
Why do I feel like I'm remembering this a little bit now?
Because it's the greatest freaking 90s film that Whoopi Goldberg ever did.
I don't think I saw it, but I remember seeing, I think, like the trailer or something.
This is the hill I choose to die on. Fight me, world.
Don't fight him, everybody. He won't back down. You will lose.
Yes, I might. If I get knocked down, I do get up again. You know, they're never going to keep me down. Chumbawamba is the soundtrack to my effing life. All right, Ryan, why don't we jump to headline number 5, the final headline of the show.
Doctor Who just made another Doctor Canon.
If you're a fan of Doctor Who, that sentence made sense.
Doctor Who, at one time, had a seemingly very concrete canon and continuity. That has gone out the window, essentially for the last 10 years. The 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, introduced a doctor, the War Doctor, from the middle of the Doctor's life that the audience never knew about.
Yeah, he was between number 8 and number 9. He was a doctor called the War Doctor, so technically he was number 9, but we don't talk about it.
Since then, radical departures and additions to lore have been commonplace. The Fugitive Doctor, plus a series of other pre-First Doctor incarnations,
Not a fan of the Fugitive Doctor.
debuted a few years ago. Now, once and current showrunner Russell T. Davies has ostensibly made another once non-canonical
Canonical, Ryan.
Canonical.
Yeah. Basically, he
Dr. Canon.
he made a non-canonical Doctor Canon. Now it is canon. Now it actually happened. Continue.
I don't think I've ever had to read that word out loud before.
Fair
In
enough.
Rogue, the 6th episode of the first Disney Plus season, spoilers ahead, we see a familiar
Hold
beat.
on. Spoilers ahead's a real thing, guys. So this is episode 6 of the new season. Disney Plus has once again rebooted Doctor Who. So the new Doctor Who's that are coming out is saying it's season 1. So in the 50s it started, went to the late 80s, then we had nothing until 95, then we had a movie, and then after that in 2005 we had the reboot that lasted 14 seasons that ended with Jodie Whittaker's run, and now we are starting the new run, Disney Plus season 1. Keep in mind, even though they're separate shows and it starts over, they're all canon. It's all happened.
The current Doctor, in an effort to prove he's a Time Lord rather than the shape-shifting villain, projects a rotating circle of former selves around him. We see all the ones you'd expect, plus the Fugitive Doctor. But you might say, wait a minute, is that Richard E. Grant from Loki?
Is it?
Was he ever a doctor? Yes.
Was he?
And no. In 2003, prior to RTD and company rebooting the series with Christopher Eccleston,
Christopher Eccleston was the Ninth Doctor in the 2005 reboot that started the season 1 of the last series.
In the lead role, BBCI, or the BBC's internet arm, commissioned a 6-part story from writer Paul Cornell as the flash animation story for the Doctor Who website. This story, Scream of the Shalka, cast long ballyhooed Richard E. Grant to play a vampirish-looking doctor opposite Sophie Okonedo as companion Allison Cheney and Derek Jacobi as the Master. David Tennant also had a small role. Grant also played one of the doctors in the 1999 comic relief special Curse of the Fatal Death, written by Stephen Moffat.
Stephen Moffat. Yeah, so this guy was only ever the Doctor in a Flash animated cartoon. And it was released on the official Doctor Who website, but was never really considered canon. And then they're also talking about this made-for-TV little fun thing that, barely counts, so we don't need to touch upon that again.
I feel like I'm that bit where the teacher just gets everybody's name wrong. With like the Key and Peele show or whatever, where he's just like, come on!
Aaron.
Yeah, he's like, come on!
My name is Aaron.
I feel like I'm that guy.
Fair enough.
That's why we're a good dynamic, Joe. I can read the things, but you can pronounce names better than I.
I can't pronounce names better than you, Ryan. I just know a lot about entertainment news, like off the top of my head, so I know what they sound like. I've heard their names spoken a lot.
And that is why we do what we do.
Yes. Notice you're better at the music mumbles part, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Due to the live action series announcement, Scream of the Shalka almost didn't come out at all, but eventually aired in late 2003. Ultimately, the series wasn't part of the continuity, despite that being the idea at the time. Obviously, Tennant went on to play the Doctor after Eccleston.
Oh yeah, he was the 10th Doctor and a lot of people's favorite Doctor. David Tennant, man.
I was gonna say, isn't that like really where his career pretty much took off?
I'd say in the U.S. for sure.
We loved him from Ahsoka. He was Hu Yang.
He was Hu Yang. He was the robot, and he was the Purple Man. I forget the name, but he was the villain, Kilgrave, in Jessica Jones, and he played a real creep in that.
Oh my god! I once told a man to go fuck himself. Can you imagine?
Also, he played as cannibal, kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer, in a movie called Des. It wasn't a movie, DES. It's a serial killer that happened in England, and it's like it's basically like a Jeffrey Dahmer thing. It was 3 episodes, and he was caught because they found human bones in like the drain.
Well, yeah, you got to get rid of those bones.
Got to get rid of the bones, guys. Everyone knows that.
Okonedo will play Liz 10 in The Beast Below. Jacobi would indeed play the Master in Utopia, and even Grant himself would play the Series 7 recurring villain, the Great Intelligence.
The Great Intelligence sounds like a dope villain, but it also sounds like the same villain that's in every sci-fi. Like there's always the Master, the Great Intelligence, the you know what I mean? It seems like
who is number 1?
Yes, I am all-knowing 0010110001. Ha ha ha!
Amen. I don't know. I just think of Bender when he went like all religious and he's like 0110100111101, and he's like doing the grace.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's just where my head goes when I hear binary.
Very cool Futurama character, Bender. I like him.
Yes.
He sold me on the show when it came out in 1999. Now, granted, in 1999, I was 12.
That's because Bender's
maybe
the greatest.
13? Yeah.
Seeing Grant in the Wheel of Doctors is a fun nod to this animated anomaly. Things change. Whether we ever see Grant full-bodied on screen certainly remains to be seen, but I guess we can expect a Peter Cushing picture at some point soon, too?
Yes, because Peter Cushing, which, by the way, you should know as Tarkin from the original Star Wars film, Peter Cushing played the Doctor in an audio drama series.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes.
You may fire when ready.
Yeah, Tarkin wasn't just in Star Wars.
I hope you know what you're doing. We're taking an awful risk here.
Yeah, he was good. Do you know he also played Van Helsing in a series of Dracula movies where Christopher Lee played Dracula?
No, I did not know that, but that sounds great.
They do like 10 movies together.
I would totally watch one of those.
Yeah. They're really good.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what else is really good, Ryan? This episode.
It was good.
I think we nailed it.
Right?
Yes, I'm pretty positive. I don't know where to go with that. Anyways, guys, that is all we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you like what you hear, please download the episode. That is the best way to support us. It doesn't matter where you download it, wherever you listen to this podcast, that's good. Download it there. But if you want to like do all of them, yeah, we're not going to tell you not to. Just saying. Ryan, how you doing?
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Thanks for all the downloads. Last week did really good, and the week before did really good. We really appreciate all the support.
Our power must grow.
We've been getting messages on the Facebook. We always appreciate hearing from any listener. If there's something you want us to talk about, anything that we did talk about that you want to kind of bring a point to or something like that, we'd love to hear from you.
Also, we will be doing interview sections coming up in the future. So if you are a cryptozoologist, if you're a Bigfoot hunter, if you are a paranormal investigator, if you have a story that you'd like to share with us, this would be a wonderful time to hit us up. And we all have that to look forward to in future episodes.
Yep, and no worries, we're pretty laid back too, so just hit us up. It's always a good time.
Yep, and do it on Facebook. We got to give the email. A lot of people don't have Facebook, so give them the email too.
It's earthlingentertainment@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.